Prior to the colonization of the Puget Sound by the United States, the indigenous people of the Puyallup Tribe inhabited a region stretching from the narrow straits all the way up the Puyallup River Valley to Mount Rainier. Their land centered on Commencement Bay. It encompassed much of what is now Pierce County, including the cities of Gig Harbor, Tacoma, Puyallup, Federal Way, and Fife. For thousands of years, the Puyallup people lived off of the abundant natural resources of the region. Their culture was deeply rooted in their interactions with salmon, shellfish, marine mammals, and the wildlife of the forests. Yet today, their land has been reduced to a small fraction of what it once was, and their resources, so vital to their culture, are dwindling.
Commencement Bay, often up into the valley, was some of the prime waterfowl hunting area of its time, and that was emphasized in Northern Pacific Railroad boosters inviting people into the area, saying, come to Tacoma, because of its extensive mudflat system and the extensive waterfowl associated with the mudflats. And that was before all the development over there occurred, and that was when you could still come here and find, as they say, that when the tide was out, the table was set. In fact, in 1853, an article appeared in one of the territorial newspapers, possibly, I think it was Pioneer and Democrat, September 1853. It said, Puyallup fishery against the world in major headline. And they went on to say how that day Swan and Riley had taken in 2,000 fish on one seine haul. When they caught so many fish, it's just for me raises more and more questions about the productive potential of the watershed, even in these modern times. Down here, I think anybody could recognize that there's very definite impacts upon aquatic habitat and in ways that would be especially adverse for fish. None of the fish numbers are anywhere near historic from my perspective. This was all shellfish country in the past. Now people won't come here at all to even dig a clam, let alone look for crab or anything else that might be on the beach. We're certainly not considering the table to be set when the tide is out any longer. Is this perfectly clean water? Is this drinkable, swimmable, fishable water? Is clean water exactly what it needs to be, or are they finding that it has temperature problems? Are they finding that it has contaminant concerns? If you're a juvenile and this is the territory, the areas within which you rear, then I imagine that's going to have an important biological impact. And so if you're exposed to toxins and or pathogens or just whatever might be within that aquatic environment as a juvenile, then you're going to be subject to its effects. And the more juveniles we are able to get into the system, the more juveniles are going to be subject to those effects should they occur. And so Clean Water Act requirements become very, very important. You know, as a fisherman, I can tell you that when we would open up those fish, some of them don't seem very healthy inside. Like, you notice that they've got these weird yellow spots on their liver. Or when you open them up, it's like, I'm not sure what the exact terminology is because I don't think it's intestines, but a lot of their inner organs seem like they've grown together. And as a fisherman, I have no idea. And some of that coloring, like that yellowish stuff, is even inside on the meat. But I don't know of anybody to turn to ask, what is this? What's that weird yellow stuff that's on the liver of these salmon that I open up? But I can only presume that it's not normal, and that it could be, that it is explainable, and my fear is that it's somehow associated with toxins that they're exposed to, contaminants. So when resource conditions demise and people they no longer represent the opportunities, the cultural opportunities that they had, it's not clear to me what people expect to be the substitute. And so to me, everything that happens when you improve resource conditions, especially for Native people, is really that it will have a positive effect on their cultural opportunities, it will have effect on their cultural well-being, it will have a positive effect on their personal mental and psychological health, which is certainly above and beyond physical impacts. I believe that tribal health has a very distinct psychological and mental health component, that it's not just physical. And I believe that when people consider the health impacts upon a local tribal community from their land use activities or the demise of, or degradation of local ecological systems, that they rarely ever acknowledge, let alone consider, the psychological or the mental health implications. For me, Indians that are no longer able to have resources in the condition that they used to have them, and clearly need those resources and know how to use those resources, need those resources to be not just available, which means they exist, but also accessible, which means they can get to them.